Damn, homeboy, I ain't seen you in a minute. What, they moved you to another prison? I was wondering where you went. Wait a minute, what? You went home? For the third time? And you're back? And I ain't been home once? Man, you got to be the stupidest mother... Man, you already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. Feeling a whole lot better. Feel like a whole new me. Life is taking its course, but that's life. You know how it goes. Today we can get into guys returning to prison. Spoken on this in the past, but the sad fact of the matter is it's an endless topic. I could think of just too many guys that just kept coming back. Guys that just couldn't get right. I'm just going to be locked up. Tell everybody everything they want to hear while they're locked up. Make all these plans, trick everybody. Then they get out, run right past everybody that held them down while they was locked up. Back to their same life. Back to those nobodies. Back to the junkies. Back to the streets. Back to the crime. Back to everything it was that put them there to begin with. You would think that after doing time, somebody would learn. Not everybody's going to make it. Prisons are packed full of people. Not because the courts are just locking people up for things they didn't do, but because people are doing the things that the courts are saying they're doing. Guys are getting out of prison and forgetting where they came from. Gone for years. Hit them streets and it's like they never left. They can't wait to get back into that life that they feel like they got robbed of. That life that loved them so much. That life that took everything from them. That's what they want when they get out. Not I. Not me. Not Jay. I told myself before I got out, I'm going to be normal. I'm going to be productive. Then after a while, there wasn't enough. I said, why be normal? Be great. Since I got out, I've strived to be great. I have not settled. Enough is not enough when it comes to success. I've excelled in areas I didn't think were possible. Others can do the same if that's what they choose. Like I said, not everybody's going to make it. Today we can get into stories of the guys that didn't make it. Guys that came right back, man. Y'all saw the very beginning. Damn, dog, you back? For the third time and I ain't been home once? It'll make you mad. Anyways, y'all know how to seen it. You know how to lived it. So, let's relive. In prison, we have a term for guys that have been getting locked up off and on their whole lives and are still locked up. They're state babies. That's what we call them, state babies. Raised by the state. You don't know how to pay an electric bill. You don't know nothing about paying no rent. Nothing about real responsibility. But you can fill out a commissary slip. You don't know what it is to raise a child or to go grocery shopping. But you can pop an electrical outlet and light a cigarette. You have no trades, no real skill sets out here in the world. But you can fix a man's CD player or TV if it blows up, because that's something you've learned to do while being in prison. State baby. Somebody's been in and out the system his entire life and is still there. With a dude named John from Chesterfield. And it's weird with prison, man, because guys that you would never kick it with in the streets or never be anywhere around that you wouldn't talk to, you find yourself sometimes talking to just out of boredom. Your homeboy might sit and play cards with him or might kick it with him. And now that links you into this dude. Only reason I ever knew John is because I tattooed on him. John actually introduced me to Insane Clown Posse. And I don't like the Insane Clown Posse or none of that type of stuff, but he was big into it. Like, he had all these CDs of all these different, groups that were similar, that were into the horrorcore rap scene. I didn't have a clue what that shit was. I didn't know what no ICP was. And he had a Hatchet Man on his arm that he wanted me to build all this stuff around and tie into. And I'm like, cool. John was doing an 8-year bid. He's a drug addict on the streets. Would steal, wheel and deal, do whatever he could to feed his drug addiction. Now, he wasn't somebody that I kicked it with on the average. He wasn't somebody that you would really see me talking to all the time. But in tattooing on him, we had our conversations. He told me how early on in life he got started off on doing like everybody else. So they started smoking weed, then he went to popping some pills they got from his grandma's house, went to drinking. From there to cocaine, smoking crack, on to heroin. When I met him, he was down on his second bid. First one being 4 years. Second time he was in was 8 years. And he was coming up on finishing his 8-year sentence. Now, the craziest part of this is this dude wasn't but maybe 32, 33. Which means from the age of 18 up until then, he had spent almost all that incarcerated on 2 different sentences. He was a state baby. He had done a lot of bids before this, right? They do a whole lot of moving of people on a regular in prison. They might come in and just snatch up 30 people and just bring 30 people from other buildings and just start placing them throughout. Just switch things up. Y'all getting too comfortable in here. You know what I mean? Y'all got too much going on. Y'all being sneaky. We're going to switch things up. So dudes you might be friends with might just get snatched up and sent to the other side of the compound. They usually don't ship them. They just put them somewhere else on the compound. And with a compound that holds 3,700 inmates, and there's 3 large sections to this, each section is completely separate from every other section. If he goes over there, you could be on the same compound for the next 10 years and not see him again. There's no possible way for you to run across him. John gets snatched up in this, and I knew he was irritated because I didn't get to finish his tattoos. The sleeve was almost done. I'd say it's about 65% of the way done. A lot of it was line work. Some of it was I'd started my black shade, and then I had to go in and do the light shade. And he comes to me, he's like, damn, man, they moving me. Well, all right, what you want me to do? Well, I already sent the money to your books for the, the sleeve work. I said, bro, you know the risks you take with this, man. Like, there's no refunds. What would you like me to do? Like, I can't send money off of me from my books back to you. Like, that's a dead situation. So to make things straight, I kicked him back a certain amount of money, but I did it in like commissary. It wasn't actual money, like money that went to my books. And everything was cool. A couple years goes by. I run across John again. What's up, John? Oh, ain't shit, man. What you still doing here? That's what he said to me. So what you mean what I'm still doing here? I got 10 years. Like, I don't get just to decide when I leave. I said, where you been? You been over S1 or S2? He's like, shit, I went home. You went home? Yeah, I went home. I ain't had but like a year left last time I was over here with you. I went home. I used to hate hearing that. Because I wanted nothing more in this world but to go home. I wanted nothing more but to go see my son, man. Hug my mom. Work a job. Be normal. Yeah, I went home, man. And you're back. Yeah. So you did 4, you did 8. What are you doing now? 24. 24 months? Nah, 24 years. They gave me back time off both of my old cases. Time I had over my head, they went ahead and broke me off with a whole bunch of that. And then broke me off with a bunch of more time. What were you doing? Got out there, started getting high, so I was breaking in cars, breaking in houses, breaking in tool sheds, breaking in different things, man. Pawning things, and you know how it gets. Nah, I don't know how it gets, man. I was never really the drug addict. I was a criminal, but I wasn't a pawn shop type dude, man. Well, they recovered a bunch of stuff from pawn shops. got me on camera, and tied me to all these breaking and enterings and different larcenies. So, doing 24 years. So yeah, returned with a 24-year sentence. 24 years with no parole. 24 years, no possibility of parole. Here in Virginia, we don't do parole. 24 years means you would do 85% of 24 years. When we talked about it a little bit, and I asked him, I said, what happened, man? Like, legitly, what happened? Like, you can't tell. You gotta have an excuse for how you went home, got out, and are now back serving 24 years. And his reason behind it all was drugs. I thought I had control of it. I had planned on doing this and doing that. Went back to where I lived at, stayed at my people's house, and my homeboy started coming through, and it wouldn't be but a couple days. I was back to being high. I think he said he did 2 probation visits, bucked on probation, went on the run, staying here, sleeping on people's couches, committing crimes, pawning stuff. And then it all come to an end. 24 years for nonviolent offenses. And they say there's, victimless crimes. There's no such thing as a victimless crime. Even if you steal money, the money belonged to somebody that impacted somebody. You can steal somebody's tools, and though you didn't hurt them physically, you may have took something from them that they used to earn their living with. There's always a victim when it comes to crimes. Even if you rob a drug dealer, he's still a human being, still a victim. I know people will argue he shouldn't be dealing drugs, he wouldn't have to worry about that. It doesn't matter what he's doing in life. It doesn't give you the right to go and victimize anybody. That was 2010. So he will be coming home in probably another 12 or 13 years. He's around his 11th year now, with another 13 years to serve. Got out and came right back. And he's just one of hundreds, if not thousands, that I'd seen return. I saw guys return and I didn't know their story. I knew they were back. I'd heard about them. Could you imagine doing all that time only to get out and voluntarily go back? Because that's what you're doing. You're volunteering at this point to go back to prison. Did nobody get out and put a gun to his head? Did nobody make him do what he did? He chose to do all that. I've had dudes that I used to run with approach me. Jay, what's good, baby? How you been? I'm good, man. Better than most. Hey, look, take my number down real quick. Nah, I'm good, man. I'll see you in passing. Damn, it's like that. Straight like that. It's just like that. These dudes that forget about you while you're gone, never sent you the first dollar. Never made sure that when your stomach got tight and the stomach rumbling started that you had something to eat. They never went by your mom's house. Never went by one of your son's football games. Never so much as while in CVS picked up a $2 card and put a stamp on it and sent it to you. These are the people that you think love you. These are the people that the average person will get out of prison and go hang out with. Damn, I missed y'all, man. What y'all been up to? Y'all know what I've been up to, right? Why y'all ain't write me? Why y'all ain't come see me, man? Why y'all do me like that? Oh, that's, you know what? I ain't even worried about it. Let's go hang out. On my face, man. Nah, Jay. I'm not gonna play myself like that. You can't play me like that. You can keep it moving. Just like you kept it moving while I was gone. You can keep doing what you was doing. And I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going this way, you go that way. When you get caught up in your madness And that judge starts handing down 24-year sentences. Guess where Jay's going to be? At home. Watching Netflix. Watching one of my big TVs. Laying in my comfortable bed. Taking a shower. Dropping the soap. And not having to worry about, you know what I mean? None of that crazy prison shit. Guys get out and they go right back. Drugs plays a major part in it. A lot of it falls on, and when I say lot, 90% of it falls on the individual. Because you can claim, I need treatment, I need this, I need that. What are they going to tell you that you don't already know? Drugs are bad. Drugs put you here to begin with. You need somebody to tell you that? You need somebody to tell you, don't go around drug addicts? Don't do drugs, this is going to end the same way it did last time. You need somebody to tell you that? No. But at the same time, prisons aren't just passing out rehabilitation. The courts aren't just passing out rehabilitation. They're passing out mass incarceration. When's the last time you heard somebody sentenced to rehab? I sentenced you to a 90-day program in rehab. They don't do that because they got to come out their pockets for you to go to rehab. And we all know without insurance, rehab can run up to $20,000+ a month. What makes more sense for them? For you to get reincarcerated and the government to pay them per day that you're in there, per inmate, per unit, because that's what you become, a unit. So what makes more sense? For them to get a check for you being incarcerated, or for them to write a check to help you get help? Now, I ain't even gonna lie. This next story just agitates the hell out of me. I watch the news sometimes, and I try not to watch the news, because it's like, the news is just where you go if you want to find out how bad shit is. If you just want to hear bad stuff all day, turn the news on. You're going to hear this person killed, that person killed. You're just going to hear a whole bunch of stuff that's just, it's bad. If you ain't just checking in for the weather and you want to know what's going on locally or in the world, a large portion of the news is just bad. Every now and then, I'll see somebody on the news I've done time with. I'll see somebody that I remember and I'll be like, damn, there he is on the news. Now, like I told y'all, they did away with parole. They abolished parole in Virginia in 1995. So if you get sentenced under what's called the new law, old law is prior to 1995. New law is after 1995. You do 85% of your time, no matter what they give you. If they give you 100 years, you will do 85 years of that 100. You will do 85% of whatever your sentence is if you stay out of trouble. If you don't, you lose your good time. 85% being the minimum amount you can do. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting out no sooner. I've seen some guys come on parole that are great men. Y'all go check out Banky Pound. Banky Pound on YouTube. Great brother. 33 years in the Department of Corrections. Made parole and is an inspiration. You listen to that man, listen to his stories, and you would never, if he told you that he'd been in prison, think that man had been in prison. Good guy. I've met a lot of good guys like Banky that didn't make parole. And then they give certain guys parole. They get out here and take it all for granted. And they make it hard for those men that would be good fathers, good business owners, good neighbors, good husbands, productive members of society. They make it hard for those type of men to get out of prison. Because when you release a man from prison and he comes home and kills somebody, and the parole board sees this on TV, they saw this last night, now you go up parole today. That's still running in their head that they saw a man they released, got out and killed somebody. Your chances of going home just got messed up because of what he did. Freddie Farrell Jr. was a guy I did time with. There's a guy I used to see in the pod. Lifer. I didn't think he was ever going home. Typical inmate. Into this, into that, ran a store box. I knew the man had been down a long time. Didn't know his exact story. Wasn't nobody I ever kicked it with. Maybe said 2 or 3 words in passing, excuse me. Stuff like that. Who's got the microwave next? Hey, let me get the shower after you. But it was never we had a friendship or anything or had conversations. Nothing like that. But you don't forget faces. Especially from your time incarcerated, which are some of your most clear times. Because you're usually, if you're not chasing drugs or something like that, you're not under the influence of things, you remember a lot. I remember Freddie's face. And then I seen Freddie on the news. Freddie made parole. I'll let them tell the rest.
Man arrested for stuffing another man in a trunk and then abducting him in Henrico has pled guilty.
The crime committed 2 years after he was released from prison on parole for similar crimes. Our John Burkett has the story.
Agreeing to a plea deal with the Commonwealth, this already convicted felon will now serve 9 more years in prison. A Henrico County judge suspending 11 of the 20 years given. Freddie Farrell Jr., who pled guilty to abducting and trying to rob a man by stuffing him in the trunk of a car and driving east on Williamsburg Road in Henrico County in December of 2020.
And the amount of suspended time is something that every judge kind of does a little bit differently, and they just want to have something hanging over his head so that if he has a problem in the future, if he messes up on probation, they can send him back to prison.
Farrell was an inmate given probation in July of 2018. His state supervision cleared in March of 2020. 9 months later, he was accused of similar crimes that landed him decades in prison from the late 80s to 2018. He fled the state to Durham, North Carolina, but was located by the U.S. Marshal Fugitive Task Force.
It's a guilty plea to the robbery and then to a lower version of the abduction. His initial abduction charge is punishable by up to life in prison, but it's tougher for a prosecutor to prove that offense. That abduction was reduced to a simple abduction, which is a 10-year maximum, and he received, a sentence based on that offense as well as the robbery offense.
And that was our John Burkett reporting. Freddie Farrell will now have to serve 85% of the 9 years he's just been given before he's eligible for parole again, a sentence that will take him into his 60s.
Now, the same street he committed his crimes on, it's the same damn road I bought this Charger off a car lot. Freddie did 30 years. And by the grace of God favored Freddie. The parole board favored Freddie. His conduct got him up out of there. He made parole. Man got locked up in 1989. Been down 30 years. You can go home. You are deemed fit to go back into society, Mr. Farrell. Congratulations. Go out there and do good. Wouldn't be 2 years. And it's all taking place again. He went to prison for robbing people. And is back in custody. They said that 2 cops were sitting there patrolling the area. Seen a trunk pop open. And a man in zip ties jump out the trunk and take off running. A man that had been abducted, robbed, shoved into a trunk. Freddie's driving the car. Freddie gets away, goes on a run, and gets caught. Now back doing 9 years. Which is crazy when you think about it. Because the abduction charges and all that, they broke it down in the news article. All that stuff right there carries, I know people that are doing life behind the same thing. I know people doing life behind less. He's back for another 9 years. Guys watched him go home. Damn, you made it, man. A lot of good men watched him go home. And I'm sure sat there looking like, I wish that was me. I pray that when my parole date comes around, they let me go home so I can go home and do right. There is no excuse, man. People got to stop with the excuses. Well, your life, everybody ain't got this, everybody ain't got that. We all have the same options. We do. The ones of us that say we don't are the ones that make excuses. You know what an excuse is? It's just a reason for why you did what you did. It's an excuse. To think you could do 30 years in prison, get out, and have not learned your lesson is crazy to me. I've told y'all, and I'll say it 1,000 times again, I know some men that deserve second chances. Men that made a bad decision, and because of that, they will leave prison, but it'll be in a body bag. It'll be when their body is room temperature. When they've passed away from old age or disease, murdered, suicide, whatever the case may be, that's their release date. I've got homeboys right now, I can pull up their release date, and it either says all zeros, single life sentence, multiple life sentence. And then I've got homeboys that if you type in their release date, it says not eligible, meaning they're never coming home. Not eligible. You don't know what it is to stand in front of a judge, have him slam down that gavel and say life. I remand you to the Department of Corrections until the day you die. You are sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. What is it that you're out here doing in these streets that you feel is worth throwing your whole entire life away? You never know what might happen. You might not be a killer, but somebody pushes your hand one night during a drug deal, and now you've got to do what you've got to do, and you kill this man. In the court's eyes, the first thing they're going to see is you're a drug dealer. Had you have been at home, taking a shower, getting ready to get up for work tomorrow, none of this would have ever happened. Now you went from a petty criminal to a murderer. From doing time that a drug dealer would get to doing time that a murderer would get. And all this could have been prevented. And what were you doing? What's your excuse? You were just trying to feed your family? You were just trying to keep the lights on? Now you're gone. Who's going to feed your family? Who's going to keep the lights on? The next man. Your homeboy that don't write you the whole time you're gone? Who you think's going to be trying to get at your wife? Who you think's going to be trying to get at your girl? Because this is a known fact. The majority of the men that I know that's wives left them, girlfriends left them, either ended up sleeping with somebody they know or being with somebody they know. That's the way this works. That's the way the females work a lot of times. That's the way these crudball friends of yours work a lot of times. Freddie's now got to go back into prison, do another 9 years. And a lot of guys are going to feel this type of way about that. These guys that have been in there the whole time Freddie's been out are going to see him return and be like, damn, I thought you made parole. What happened? I did make parole. Well, what are you doing here? Just like John. Oh, I went home and robbed somebody, abducted somebody, had him in the trunk of my car. It's going to make a lot of people not like him. Those men that I tell you about that want to go home, they're not going to like him. So you mean to tell me they didn't give me parole? As much as I deserve it, they didn't give me parole, but they gave you parole when you went home and robbed somebody and put him in your trunk? Man, get away from me. Don't ever speak to me again. Nah. Go tell the people to put you in another cell, man. Me and you can't live together. Not because you got messed up charges. Just because you make me sick. My children have grown. I've lost loved ones. Life as I know it has now passed me by. 30 years? They didn't even have cell phones. People were still using rotary phones, house phones with the long antennas. Now they got S21s and iPhone 13s. And you mean to tell me you went home and threw all that away? And you want to sit here and conversate with me? Y'all come get this dude out of my face, man. Get him away from me. Dudes talk a real good game while they locked up. I've heard dudes say they were going to do this. They were going to do that. make promises, and get out and do this and do that for the first few days. And for some guys, they don't make it a month. For some guys, they don't make it a week. Some guys make it a year. Some make it 10. But then they find themselves back in the courts, back locked up. I actually met a guy one time that was going home, and I said, man, damn, I wish I was going home. How's it feel? Like, I just wanted to know how he was feeling, because I was so far away from the gate that I didn't see no light at the end of my tunnel. I was early on in my bid. He wasn't too excited about it. You know what he's excited about? Going home and smoking crack. He said, this time tomorrow, I'm going to be in a hotel room with a trick and a whole bunch of rocks because I've been saving money. He inspired to go home. Aspired, whatever you want to call it. Somebody's going to correct me on my grammar. To go home and smoke crack. I've met guys that say they can't wait to get out and get high, get drunk. And there you have me sitting, and all I want to do is get out and do right. I want to get out and live that life that I should have always lived. I want to get out and make my mom proud. I want to get out and create jobs. I want my son to have his dad. I want people to look at me and say, he made it. You know, my mom told me this one time. I called her from the jail, and I said, they got me, Mom. I was in Philly on this bid, and I heard her kind of sigh. And it wasn't a sigh like, oh my God, it was a sigh of relief. My mom would go on to tell me later down the line that once I was locked up, she could finally sleep at night. She could finally breathe. Even with her son being in prison for a decade, her life was as close to being normal as it had been in a very long time. Because she didn't have to worry about getting that call at 3 o'clock in the morning that I was found on the side of the road shot in the head, or that I was in a car in the trunk and the car was set on fire and I was burned up. She didn't have to get a call to come ID my body. She knew that all these years I've been in the streets, I've been through a lot, but I survived. And that prison wouldn't be nothing. She knew that me going to prison for 10 years meant that that was 10 years she didn't have to worry about me dying. It's a sad day when your child gets sent off to prison and you're grateful. My mom was not happy that I went to prison. She was happy that something intervened before I had succumbed to the streets, before the streets finally caught up to me. She was happy to know that, if you want to call it safe, I was safe. She was happy to know where I was and that she wasn't going to have to bury me. My list of friends that have gotten out of prison and died is insane. I know guys that have done 10 years, got out, was out 10 years, and got murdered. My list of friends that have overdosed and died, there's no putting a tally on it. You know, to this day, I'm still finding out about people that have passed away. I'll mention somebody's name to somebody, and they'll be like, Jay, the person died while you was in prison. The person's been dead 15 years. What? Then it seems like every other week, sometimes twice a week, I get a phone call and be like, yo, your homeboy such and such passed away. Didn't you used to kick it with Shorty? Yeah, she passed away. A girl that I know that a friend of mine was with for several years. A girl that my wife used to work with was just found on the side of the road from an OD. She overdosed in a car with a dude And the dude pulled over on the side of the road, opened the door, and kicked her out. That's somebody's child. Her life ended right there in the gutter on the side of the street. Right there where the police found her. As cold as the pavement. Life is short. A lot of people aren't going to watch all this because y'all, everybody's got it all figured out. Y'all know everything, right? We've all buried people. We've all lost. Not all of us have been to prison. Not all of us are going to get a second chance. I've had multiple chances. And I woke up. I'm wide awake. I stay woke. Because I don't never want to be that guy that gets told life. I know my mom's proud of me. We talk more and more these days. She has her own life, her own things to deal with. My son, y'all ask about my son that I left behind when I went to prison. He has been with me since the day I got home. And is still with me to this day. He has the second largest room in my house, which is like a mother-in-law suite. It's huge. Got his own bathroom. A massive walk-in closet. I made a promise, a vow to him when I came home that I would never leave him again. I hugged him, cried, shook his hand, looked him in his eyes. I said, I promise, I'll never leave you again. I stood behind my word. My son is now 19. He was 12 when I came home. He's at my house right now. He doesn't have to leave. Because he's 18 don't mean he's got to go out the door. I miss so much of his life. To be honest, I don't care if he ever leaves. Because I know he's safe with me. Don't make a promise to people and break it. If you're going to make a promise to yourself. All that stuff you talked to your cellmate, all that stuff you told everybody you was going to do it. And even if you don't accomplish your dreams, don't let it stop you. Because I can promise you this. You'd rather be flipping burgers at McDonald's for $10, $11, $12, $13 an hour than flipping pancakes for 27 cents an hour in a prison chow hall. You'd rather fight with your girl, fight with your husband, make love and make it up, fix things tomorrow, than fight with them over the phone while they're doing all those things with somebody else. Hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Definitely something I felt I need to touch on. It's a little different than what I'm used to doing. I had something completely different planned, but this is where we went with it. I enjoyed the time with my son this weekend. Saturday we went trunk or treating. Y'all seen him in a Spider-Man costume. Sunday night we went trick or treating. He was Jason, I was Big Mike Myers. People loved it. Lil Jason and Big Mike. It was an awesome time. Even though the night did start off with me parking, getting out the car, and I just got the new S21 Ultra laying in my lap, stepped out the car, boom, phone falls flat in the gravel, breaks the phone. Peanuts to an elephant, man. It's just a phone. Get another one. These are the times I cherish, man. This is the life I dreamed of. This is what I promised myself I would do if I got out. I said, my mom's never going to worry about me again. I've lived up to those promises. And that makes me smile. But anyways, man, these jails, institutions, detention centers are all just crazy worlds inside of this already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams. Let's live life. And to all my real ones, and there are some real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Man, y'all know how we do. Salute.